What is going on, everyone? Welcome into this Monday edition. We did not get to have the post game on Saturday as planned, as I was out of state traveling for a concert. So we're now here doing a game recap more than a post game review. So we'll get right into this. I am Ben, back with you now. I think I just drooled on myself. I'm not really sure. Um, but I'm Ben with Exploring Ben with Sam. If you want to follow me here in the link, I'm going to drop it here in the live chat. It's also in the description below for the video. But let's get into this game because this weekend was one of those weekends. It really was unfortunate. I was not able to sit and watch college football. It's a great week three, uh, especially for the Pac 12 overall. But we're here to talk about Oregon, BYU. Uh, I was stuck in a British pub watching this game, unfortunately, up till halftime, and then I had to leave for the show I was at. So I felt very, very good at halftime. It was 24-7 Oregon at halftime. The offense looked good, the defense looked good, but let's get into the whole notes here. One, of course, BYU didn't have Romney or Nakua still. Nakua was like game time decision, but apparently he didn't even practice, so his ankle was still bothering him. Romney did not travel. That's a plus for the Ducks, of course, but they've been out all year so far. So BYU has to, adjust to that, not having those two guys on the field. Well, they didn't. Oregon's wearing those, you know, the dark green slash almost black kind of unis. I love those. They're very aggressive. That was reminiscent of the Pac-12 game, championship game against Utah several years back. BYU had a great turnout too in Autzen. I think that was known that that was going to happen. BYU travels pretty well, and Oregon's not that far for them to travel. I mean, it's a good distance, but good turnout for them. Uh, Autzen, of course, amazing. But let's look at the first. Let's look at the defense for Oregon because this game really came down to defense because that was the thing that I think worried most of us was can we uh, contain them because Hall likes to move around the BYU quarterback. He likes to move around the pocket, get outside. He can run. He doesn't necessarily want to, but he can run. And then against like Baylor the week before, they were doing a lot of back shoulder, throws to their big receivers, Hill and Richardson. And that was the one thing I think that, as a Duck fan, kind of concerned us because our secondary is questionable at times. But I mean, I'm looking at these. Again, I apologize. I got back last night at midnight Central Time. I watched the whole game back through again, took notes, finished it up this morning. So my notes are all over the place. So I kind of apologize for that. But, Oregon defense, first play of the game for BYU, we gave up a deep back shoulder kind of a curl route for a big gain. That was a little alarming at first, but then we got a sack, stopped them on fourth down on that swing route pass that they had. A lot of pre-snap shifting on the D line. That was kind of reminiscent of old Oregon defenses where we would do a lot of pre-snap adjustments, especially that shifts. Uh, Again, the secondary held up really well. Gonzalez, he got a nice block there in the, I believe it was the second or third possession for BYU. So, and DJ Johnson finally just being on defense, he's wreaking havoc back there. He got at least like two holding calls called because he was just rushing and they couldn't stop him. Uh, the Oregon offense, we're starting to see it finally evolve into what it is supposed to be. It's a mixture, of course, of heavy run, but those play actions. And today we saw it again, the rotating of the running backs, like we've been seeing. And part of that is Cardwell was apparently injured I don't know if that was from last game or just from like maybe during the week during practice. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to look that up. But Irving and Whittington, oh, those guys are coming on strong for the running backs. Let's just put it that way. They were coming on strong. But I mean, when you open the game with what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, your first 6 possessions are scores and only one field goal. That's a recipe for success. And I'm not going to say that BYU wasn't maybe beat up a little bit from the Baylor game, coming off that high of that win. But when you go into Autzen Stadium, you have to be prepared. And they were not prepared, I don't think, for the onslaught. Because from the get-go, you could see that Oregon was like a step ahead of them for the most part, defensively and offensively. The O-line was, for the most part, was pushing that BYU D-line around, which is not an easy feat. BYU is a good team. Let's not sit here and be like, oh, okay, it's just BYU. BYU is a good team. I mean, let's look back at the offseason. Remember, before Dan Lanning, Oregon interviewed Satake for the head coaching job. Satake has taken the BYU program to a new consistent level all the time. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Mendenhall because Mendenhall was just phenomenal at BYU, but Satake has risen that program up to an even more consistent level now. And that's why Oregon even interviewed him for the job. And I was actually thrilled when I heard that Oregon was interviewing him because I thought he's got so much energy and it would be a great hire. But didn't go that route. Of course, we went with Lanning, which I was very thrilled about too. And I think this game maybe showed why we did that. Maybe, internally they just didn't feel he had the juice that they wanted. But the Oregon offense, again, efficiency. Efficiency is the key. In that game, this game, we literally had one punt. And that was on the 7th offensive drive. One punt. There was no turnovers. There was the one really bad offensive series where they brought Ty Thompson in. I got why they brought him in because we were up so big, like rest Nix, put Thompson in. But almost a fumble, lost like 20 yards on that play or something, but didn't lose the fumble. And then Ty threw an interception. Did that really change anything in the game? Not really, but you don't want to see that still. But then they brought Nix right back in to like maintain the consistency with the offense. So that was fine. I was happy with that. But other than that, efficiency, Nix. I mean, both quarterbacks for this game, Hall and Nix, were very efficient. Nix just did more. That's all. That's how you can put it in. Our defense just did more than the BYU. I mean, Nix went 13 of 18, 222 yards, 2 TDs, and then 3 rushing touchdowns. Three rushing touchdowns. Most of those were, read options, and they were short yardage for the most part. But I mean, that's all you had to do. And it was efficient. Well, there's not much more you can ask for. But again, Hall was not bad either for BYU. But there was no big outside of their one touchdown in the first half. There wasn't really a lot of explosive plays. They had that one really, really good scheme where he kind of did a fake handoff, kind of spun around and found the guy right over the middle for the touchdown. I think it was a tight end, But other than that, they had to work for everything they got. And I think that's the one key thing here is the defense was, the defense gave up 2.5 yards per carry. 2.5 yards per carry. That is a pretty low number. Last week, everyone was talking how BYU only allowed 2.9, I think it was, yards to Baylor per carry. Well, we took that and, dropped it almost half a yard. hey, you can't complain with them. Those numbers are very good. That's what you want to see out of this defense, hopefully. Again, I apologize. I'm looking down here a lot. My notes are all over the place because of the late night last night, but the show must go on, as we say. So we're here and we're talking Oregon. I want to see your questions and comments because this is that type of win Lanning needed. We had the Georgia game, didn't go how we wanted it to at all, but then we followed up with the Eastern Washington. Then we followed up now with this game. And this was one of those games where you went, wow, this is going to be an amazing game, amazing potential win, and a season define, maybe a little season, not definer, but setting up for the season to come as we go into conference play. And it went, I think, probably better than most of us expected. As the modest Duck fans, or we're not like trying to blow everything out of proportion, but it is what it is, and we'll take it all. We'll take it every weekend. I mean, and yes, it was definitely one of those great wins. I mean, it was needed. It's just the first notch in Dan Lanning's belt, hopefully, and we'll see how the season progresses because we're going to go into conference play, and the conference is turning out to be, maybe more of a monster than we were expecting it to be so far this season. But again, Bo Nix, extremely, extremely efficient. Again, 13 of 18, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. No touchdowns for the running backs. None. But Irving looking good, looking shifty, strong, and running through tackles. 14 carries, 97 yards. We had Whittington with 13 for 66. These two are standing out. Now, Cardwell, again, wasn't playing this week, but those two definitely took advantage of the opportunity and did everything they could with it. I like seeing Cam McCormick and, of course, Ferguson for the tight end group get in there and get some catches. Ferguson had both of the receiving touchdowns. Those were his only catches, 2 for 24 yards and 2 TDs. But again, the offense did exactly what it was supposed to do. Efficient. And I think that's really the game plan going forward is if we don't need to throw the ball that much, we won't. But when we do, we're going to make it we're going to make it effective. Be efficient and some deep shots. I mean, again, Franklin had that amazing catch, that deep shot over the middle early on, and then they ran hurry up to make sure that it didn't get reviewed. But even replays, it was a catch, so I don't think they had to worry about it. But they were just trying to catch him off guard. Coda looked good. For the most part, I have almost no complaints in this game. I know at the end of the game, Lanning was not happy with kind of how the defense played at the very end, kind of allowing BYU to move the ball, even though we stopped them on 4th down. But he said he wasn't happy with that, which is fine. That's what you want to hear from a coach. You want to hear the coach say, look, this game was great, but we still need to fix things. That's exactly what you want to hear. So it was quite the game. I mean, trust me. But yeah, defense, there's still stuff to fix. We need to stop some more 3rd downs. Tackling, much better in this game. Just like last week with Eastern Washington. Tackling was extremely well improved. People were flying all over the place and attacking the ball carriers. Whoever was getting the ball, receivers or the running backs, they were attacking them. I think we only had 1 sack, if I believe correctly, and that was on the opening drive. I'd have to go back and look at the stat again. I think there was really only 1 sack. But again, Hall likes to move around. So it was all about containing him more than anything. Just looking at my notes. I apologize. Yeah, I wasn't super on the spot for this. But again, this game is exactly what we needed going into conference play. needed to get this, I don't want to say warm up, but a really good high profile type of game like this on TV in front of Autzen against a good opponent like BYU. BYU is not a slouch of a team, so don't ever assume that that's just a win. Because it was funny during the pre games, most people were like, we'll take BYU. I think it was game day. I think the guest speaker picked Oregon. Everyone else said BYU. Hey, if that's the type of momentum potentially, I'm not saying the players or the coaches are listening to that stuff, but if that's the type of fire that this team needs to, go out on game day and win, use it. Use that as energy. Use that as fire. It worked. So they don't do that, I hope. But I hope no one's watching game day in the locker room before the game. But you never know. I will say, though, BYU, though, they have a stud over there on defense. Max Tooley, I think it's one of their linebackers. Whew, I don't even know how many times they called that guy's name. He was everywhere on the field for BYU. He single-handedly probably kept this game in check just a little bit. Then I think if they hadn't pulled Nix out in the mid-third quarter, or we probably could have put up 50 plus on BYU. I don't think that was the plan, And they again at that point they were like, well, we're going to rest Nix. We'll give Ty a shot, and that didn't go so well that one series, so they pulled him out. Yeah, I like the play calling. Again, Nix is efficient. Oregon's running the ball. Let Nix play when he needs to. Well, I don't know about that. I won't go that far. That's pretty bold there, Will. We're not all just complete knuckleheads over there. Only in Mark's eyes, but yeah. Again, I think the game plan is just run the ball, let Nix be efficient when he needs to be. Let Bo Nix do Bo Nix things, but just again, don't make it worse. Don't make the big mistake. And he didn't. He did not make the big mistake. And that's the main thing. Again, no turnovers, 13 of 18, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's efficiency. Not gaudy numbers. It's not just ridiculous stats, but those are those types of things you want to see. Those are what winning quarterbacks do, because they don't need to throw a lot, but when they do, they make sure they make the most of it. That's the difference. And a lot of our other quarterbacks, I don't even think Nix is ever going to hit over 300 yards in a game this season. If he does, something else is wrong. Like something else on the offense is not working. We're not running the ball well. There's so much pressure in his face that he's having to throw it quickly all the time. I don't know, but I really don't think Nix is going to hit over 300 yards this season. Maybe once, maybe. I don't think there's a need to. Hopefully, but again, we'll see. Especially as we're looking into conference play this week. But again, Oregon started the season number 12 or number 11. Number 11 in the ranking. Went unranked after the Georgia game. Not shocked by that. Jumped back up to 25 after Eastern Washington. And now we are number 15, I believe it was. Yes, 15. Ranked number 15. I think that's a fair spot. I mean, again, we still have to prove stuff after that Georgia game. No one just forgets about that. So now we're going to the conference play coming up, though. And is the Pac-12 not getting any love? Any love right now? I mean, we go on the road to play Wazoo next week. That's never easy. And look at Wazoo. 3-0, went on the road, beat Wisconsin. And they're not even mentioned anywhere. Like the disrespect. But that's next week. So we will get into that here coming up later. But yeah, no, yeah, Sataki is a good coach. I mean, again, I just touched on it earlier too. Oregon interviewed Sataki, and I was actually really excited when I heard that. I was like, that's I would not mind that hire. He's got a lot of energy and he knows what he's doing. This was just kind of one of those games. I mean, it happens. That's not saying BYU is a bad team. BYU is a good team. And again, Sataki has taken them to a consistent level now. I'm not comparing Sataki to Mendenhall again. I'm not going there because Mendenhall was just, you know, he's the Bronc. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, Sataki, there's no doubt he's a good coach. He knows what he's doing. Someone's going to come after him, and someone will finally get him. But he might be that guy that just wants to stay at BYU because he loves it there. And hey, there's no fault to that. I mean, when you get in that spot you love, stay there if you're happy, and especially if the school wants you there. I mean, stay there. Uh, might beat each other this year. That's every year, Will. That is every year. Outside of Oregon 2010, and even then we almost lost to Cal that year. Lowly Cal on the road. No one's come out of the Pac-12 unscathed. No one. That this conference just does that to each other. I know everyone will say, "Well, it's the Pac-12." Blah, blah, blah. That's just how this conference works. Uh, so, yeah, no one's coming out of this conference. I don't think without a conference loss, anyways. Someone's going to have at least one, at least. But yeah, again, this game went just about as well as planned. Um, I mean, I like to see how this coaching staff is shaping up now. Everyone seems much more comfortable together, working together. Because, I mean, what did we do? We went for it on fourth down how many times? Again, my notes are all over the place. We went for a fourth down at least 3 times, I think. I mean, the first time it was at our own 31-yard line with like 3 minutes left in the half. Our own 31-yard line. We're like, 4th and 1. All right, cool. And we went for it and got it. That's the attitude of this team. Like they sense, hey, we've got this moving. We're in control. Let's keep it up. Now, if it didn't work, that would be disastrous. But the confidence that this team has, I mean, I'm not going to. Bellotti was like, if you go back in coaching history, Bellotti was a little more old school, in the way he did things. And he adjusted, obviously, like with bringing Chip Kelly in as the OC. But we haven't seen that type of aggressiveness, like on fourth downs since Chip Kelly. Like, even Taggart didn't do it. Now, Taggart was there only 1 year, so we didn't really get a sampling size. But to go in your third game, second one at home, and already be like 4th and 1, 31-yard line on our side of the field, go for it. I mean, that's what you want to see out of a coaching staff. That's the confidence he has in his players and their abilities, but also knowing that we're going to get this. But also then we trust our defense too if we don't. So outside of Chip Kelly, yeah, we haven't seen this type of aggressiveness on offense either. I mean, they could have poured it on if they really, really wanted to. And mid third quarter, they kind of pulled back a little bit because there was no need to pour it on anymore. I mean, it's still a good win, so we'll take it. But, the Bronco Mendenhall, maybe. I don't know if Bronco Mendenhall is still on retirement, as he said. He got burnt out at Virginia finally. He had to step away. But might not be a bad hire. I would probably at least call him and ask about that. That's for sure. It really doesn't matter if it's day or night. Pullman is just one of those places. It's tough for most of the Pac-12 teams, especially Oregon as of late. But We're going to see. Yeah, I'm feeling a little more comfortable now after this game, but Washington State's no joke. They've looked really good this year, too. So we're going to see. Well, I'm not going to get into this a whole lot, but I don't even know if Sataki would be interested in West Virginia. I mean, no offense to the West Virginia program. I don't know if Sataki wants to just up and leave and move to West Virginia either. So uh, we'll have to have some conversation with West Virginia fans later on about that because that would be interesting. But I don't see that happening personally. But yeah, I apologize. I'm here. I'm trying this, but yeah, I got home last night at midnight, rewatched the game. I've taken so many notes and was like all into this, and then I just started dragging this morning. I'm just kind of worn out, but I will say, classy too by BYU for Spencer Webb. You know, they came out with the flag. Oregon had the flowers at the 4-yard line for Webb during the first quarter, during one of the breaks, at least, you know, and very classy. But it was good to see the tight end room get involved because, again, sorry. Again, it was Ferguson who only had the 2 receiving touchdowns. So that's great for the tight end room. That shows the commitment to wanting to use the tight ends, especially in the red zone. And I think that's big. Also, one of those notes is, besides the running backs doing well, Nix was out there blocking people. He was throwing blocks. But we haven't seen many of our quarterbacks throw blocks. Nix was he needs to cool that down a little bit. Even late in the fourth, he was like rushing for like 3rd and 10 and like throwing his body into people. I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like the last thing we need is a quarterback injury. You know, that late in the game, up that many points. We don't need that. So at the same time, protect yourself. But I like the aggressiveness too. So again, I'm not going to complain. If Nick stays healthy, do what he does. And if he could play like this every game, we will have no problems. Like the whole offense as a whole, but Nick's no mistakes, efficient, and good decision making. Those are the 3 keys that will take this team to the next level under Nick's. If he starts reverting back to his, you know, cowboy style, like just, you know, those Knicks games, then we're in trouble. But if he keeps this up, or Eastern Washington, these 2 weeks, maybe this is a sign that he's finally settled into this offense fully. The offensive game plan is adjusted also to best suit him and the offense as a whole. And I think we can be on track. I mean, again, no mistakes. There was no turnovers. Again, outside of that one series where they brought Ty in mid-3rd quarter. They almost had the fumble, the loss to 22 yards or whatever, and then he threw a pick. Not what you want to see, but the staff adjusted immediately and put Nix back in just to, you know, make sure the game didn't go completely out of control. So, yeah, good week, but I know this team has already moved on from this. I know the staff right now today, if not even yesterday on Sunday, is already looking at Washington State and going, that was a great win, but now we've got to move on because now we go on the road this next week. And again, Washington State, yeah, always a struggle, but they're a good team. They've been a good team. Washington State, again, had Dickert move up to interim. He stabilized the program in 2020. Was it mid-2020, 2021? Stabilized the program. And now he's the head coach. I think it was 2021, sorry. He's the head coach, and great hire. Great for them. He's doing good things there now. And so that's going to be even more of a challenge. That's why I said I'm surprised that the Pac-12 is not getting as much love in the rankings. I'm Wazoo. How are they not ranked? Even like 25. I don't know if they're like 26 or 27, but I mean, I'm surprised that 3-0 with the road win over Wisconsin, they're not ranked, like at least number 25. I'm actually pretty surprised about that. So they're going to be a battle, though. That's a notch in our resume if we can go in there and pull off a game similar to this. And again, that's just the start of the conference play, though. That's just the start. Yeah, it's not going to get any easier from there. So getting Washington State out of the way will be nice. I don't know. I don't know about that, Will. Nix is really only there for 1 year. He's kind of a stopgap. He's a senior. I don't think he planned on staying more than 1 year. Ty just seems like a guy that wants to be in the program. Like, it's not just about playing time. He likes being in the program at Oregon. Just one of those guys. If he does, he does. I mean, well, would I be shocked? No. If he stays, would I be surprised? No. And, well, yeah, exactly following up with this is exactly what I was about to talk about, and you already commented on it. Yeah, next year, if Nix leaves, which I really think he will, I think he'll move on to like try the NFL. So then you think, okay, it'll be Ty's team or Butterfield. Butterfield might transfer. I could see Butterfield transferring first because he's like third on the depth chart right now. But if Dante comes in and is like equal competitive wise immediately with Ty Thompson, yeah, and then I could see Ty like thinking I'm out. So how the coaching staff does that next year with those two competing, that'll be interesting because no offense to Ty, we love our guy Ty, but yeah, it's been hit and miss. I mean, two coaching staffs have not put him as a starter. So that says there's something is missing. Whether it's just an awareness thing or the speed of the game, maybe. I don't know what it is, but two staffs have picked over him. So will Dante come in and win it? Maybe. Maybe. We'll have to see. I mean, we'll have to see on that, especially because that's next season. We're not even going to think about that right now. We're thinking about this season. And right now, I think most Duck fans, outside of how the Georgia game went, we're right where we want to be. I mean, this is what we figured we'd probably be 2-1 going into conference play, and that's where we are. So, outside the result of the Georgia game, this is exactly where we wanted to be. Yes, 3-0 would be better, but that was, I think all of us pretty much expected we were going to lose one or the other. It was either going to be to Georgia or to BYU. Well, I'll take the home win against BYU and losing on the road against Georgia. So, I think as most Ducks fans, we're right where we want to be. We have no problem being 2-1 right now. We bumped back up 15 ranking, which doesn't really matter at this point in time. But now we go into conference play. We're more stable. The game plan, the offensive game plan is adjusted. The defense looks to be much better, much more on point, whether it's schematic or just simplifying things. Like I think the offense said they simplified the offensive calls to make everyone more comfortable. For right now, at least. Maybe they'll open it back up later on, but like after the Georgia game, for the next couple weeks, they wanted to just stick to a little more simple game plans. And I think that's fine. It's been effective. Again, it's been efficient. So it works. But, ease people back into it. Maybe they went into it a little too much with the Georgia game, in that type of setting where everyone wasn't fully comfortable with the scheme or all of the play calls. No one's going to say that openly, I don't think, and we don't know that for sure. But I know the offense said they went and simplified it a little bit more. So, point is, we're 2-1 going into the conference play. That one loss has no bearing on the conference. The conference championship's still there for us to go and grab. That is all that matters. I mean, I am not saying that we are going to go undefeated the rest of the way, but you go undefeated the rest of the way. Well, and win a conference, you're still 12-1. as conference champions. Is anything out of the possibility? No, everything's on the table. But I don't think we're worried about that. If we can go into even win the conference championship or at least compete, this would be an amazing first season for a stopgap, kind of year. Lanning's first year, Nick's coming in, a bunch of transfers just to stabilize things from what we lost after last year. So I would say that is an amazing year. Will it go that way? I don't know. We know how the Pac-12 goes. As Will pointed it out earlier, I will pull this back up because this is exactly what every Pac-12 team knows, is that the Pac-12 will most likely beat each other up. That is exactly what happens again every year. No matter how good you are, you always drop some random game somewhere. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but that's exactly what happens almost every year to every team. I mean, look at USC this next week. They're going to Corvallis. Well, the Beavers are much improved, and Corvallis is a spot where USC does not like to play. It happens. We have to go face Arizona, the Wildcats in Arizona. We have not done good in Arizona over the years. We haven't. Should we lose there? No. Do we? Yes. That's as simple as that. I mean, it's just how the Pac-12 is. Yeah, I think it's not even because of how Auburn is. It's Bo Nix just needed a new start. He'd had so much ups and downs. He just needed a new place to go. And of course, with Dillingham coming to Oregon, it made sense for him. He felt comfortable. Plus, he knew Lanning because he played against him in Georgia. So it made sense. He just needed a new start somewhere. And sometimes players need that. They do need to start. And he was there. He could transfer. So I mean, no fault to him. Yeah. The Washington-Stanford game, it would be an idea. Washington's looking good. I'm literally right over here on my TV. I was actually watching the Washington and Michigan State game. I know the outcome, but I wanted to watch it just to see the how they look, because that was a great hire. DeVore, it's a great hire. I liked it a lot when Washington did it. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. That guy is really good. He's been consistent with Fresno State. Grab him. Stanford, thank God we have Washington and Stanford at home. And UCLA this year. UCLA, though, I don't know what's going on with UCLA. I mean, they almost lost to South Alabama yesterday. Or Saturday. It's Monday now. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, they almost lost to South Alabama. No disrespect or offense to South Alabama. But if you're UCLA playing at home, that game should not even be in question. And you had to win on a field goal at the end. What is happening? They're so up and down. Arizona scares me because, again, we're on the road at Arizona. Cal gave Will a heart attack on Saturday. I'm sure Will might have left already the chat because of having to think about that game. Shocking Cal lost, but Cal's offense just they cannot find an offense anymore. Their defense is always decent, but their offense. So yeah, Washington, Stanford, of course. Luckily, again, we have those at home and UCLA. We have to go to Cal. We have to go to Washington State, and we have to go to Arizona. And then we host Utah. The next couple weeks, especially in conference play, is going to tell us a lot more about these teams. The non-con has gone relatively well. Yeah, there's been some hiccups. Arizona State decided to just totally crap the bed against Eastern Michigan. Well, at least that stopped the bleeding there with Herm Edwards. No disrespect to Herm Edwards, but they had to rip that Band-Aid off eventually. Yeah, I bet you were. I bet you were, Will. I was watching the score and I was like, Will's going to disappear for like 2 weeks. They lost to Cal. And it was still closer than you wanted it to be, I'm sure. It was 24-17, I think, was the final. It shouldn't have been that close. Not for Cal traveling all the way to Notre Dame. Oh, I saw some aerial shots during, again, when I was stopped, and I saw some aerial shots of some of the highlights. There was no one there. What? It was worse than the week before. It went from like 5,000 people to what, maybe 1,000. I'd have to relook. It was absolutely pitiful. Like, absolutely pitiful. I don't know what's going on with UCLA, if they just don't care anymore or what. I mean, who doesn't want to just go? I know it's hot down there. I know it's hot, but that doesn't stop people from going to the games. Well, let's see what happens when conference play comes up. Maybe it's just because it's South Alabama, but still, you should be able to have at least half a stadium there for that game. I don't know what's going on down there. Maybe it just doesn't matter that much to them. That or they're just trying to push for Chip Kelly to get fired. I don't know. We'll let UCLA decide that. But did they just extend him again? I just saw something about Chip Kelly and UCLA. Did they extend him again? I know he's on a 1-year extension now. Did they do another one? I don't think so, but any students aren't on campus. Yes. Regardless, it's UCLA. If the Oregon students aren't on campus, does that mean that they don't sell out Autzen? No, they still sell out Autzen or damn near fill it. I mean, and yes, it's not as many people as UCLA, but UCLA should at least be having 30 plus thousand people there every game, no matter who it is. So when you can like barely get a couple thousand to go, that's sad. I mean, oh, now we got the back and forth. Will, you're on the attack here from everyone. It's not even me. I was like, hey, good win, way to get out of there, because I was like, oh boy, seeing that Cal score yesterday or on Saturday, but everyone's coming at you now. We'll leave it at that. Well, it was, again, it's a good win, especially because another good point about this. Everyone talks so much trash about the Pac-12 last year, maybe rightfully so, but how BYU was the Pac-12 South champions. Deservedly so. They were 5-0 against the Pac-12 South. They play Oregon this year, of course, we already did, and we won. And then they're playing at Stanford. Let the North show them who runs the Pac-12 outside of Utah last year. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but it was a great win. And again, much respect to BYU because they're a good program. I think they got a little shocked by the atmosphere and then just, the different style of play compared to Baylor that Oregon runs. So it was a great win for the Ducks and for the conference, though. Saturday was a great day for the conference as a whole, overall. Even for those who lost, like Cal, going into Notre Dame and sticking around, only losing by a score, that's not bad. I would have expected Cal to get blown out, to be honest. But yeah, again, let's do a recap as this show is intended for, this little stream. Efficiency. That's all I can say. Offensive efficiency. When you score on your first 6 drives, all touchdowns, just 1 field goal on your 6 first possessions, that's efficiency. That's how you win games. When your defense holds someone to only 3 scores in a game, that's good on defense. When your defense holds someone to 2.5 yards a carry, that's good defense. That's efficiency on the defensive end. It's good tackling, everything. And when your quarterback does not turn it over, 13 of 18, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 rushing touchdowns. No turnovers. That's how you win games. Efficiency. You don't need him to do more than he needs to do. Let him do what he needs to do when he needs to do it. But don't rely on him to go out there and have to throw it 40 times. There's no point. You don't. If you need to do that again, there's something wrong. So efficiency. As a whole, this is exactly what the team needed to do. Luckily, we had that kind of regroup week last week against Eastern Washington, which again is a respectable FCS team. There's nothing wrong with Eastern Washington. But having that tune-up week to kind of fix things, this week to implement, and I know, again, the coaching staff is already on that Washington State film today, probably even yesterday on Sunday. And the team is prepping for this next game because Washington State is not going to be an easy test. They're always a handful. Again, they have Jake Dickert up there. He's a good coach. At least he seems to be at this point. They've already knocked off Wisconsin on the road. So this is going to be one of those games. I could see this being a very close one-possession game. I'm not going to make picks or predictions at this point in time, but it is going to be a very interesting game, and I'm very looking forward to Pac-12 play because anything can happen. As some of us here in the chat know, Pac-12 is not kind to each other. It's just the way it is. So we're not going to sit here and waste a whole lot of time. We've covered quite a bit. Again, my notes have been all over the place just because of I got home late last night, rewatched the game, did notes, and yeah, it was not exactly the ideal weekend. But next weekend should be a normal post-game for the Wazoo game. So we will see how that goes. And we are going to go ahead and just wrap this up because it is early in the day. And again, we've covered a lot of stuff here. One, all due respect and great team BYU is. Sitake is a good head coach. They ran into the buzzsaw that I think Oregon is starting to form into now. And again, as a Duck fan, you saw exactly what you want to see. Good rushing, good decision-making by the quarterback, efficiency, and scoring, and no turnovers. That's what you want to see. Now, defensively, yes, there are some things to improve, like not allowing them to move the ball because Hall was very efficient too. I don't have his numbers right in front of me, but he was something, I want to say, he was like 18 of like 25 or something like that for like 300 yards. Something like that. He was efficient also. So you'd like to maybe see a little more disruption there, whether pressure or, of course, a takeaway. But the secondary held up. That was the main concern. We did not allow them any of those big back shoulder, deep pass plays. There were several good breakups. So that I think is important. So that's a positive that we can take away from this. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get out of here. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Also for not having the post game like normal. We will next weekend. So this was just kind of the recap and chatting with you guys. Again, I'm Ben from Exploring with Ben and Sam. You can follow me there in the chat. I dropped the link there for you, or just search us on YouTube or Instagram and Twitter, Exploring with Ben and Sam. We appreciate everyone being here, and we will talk.